My name is Eric Schuettpelz. I'm presently the chair of the Department of Botany here at the National Museum of Natural History. And whether you're joining us here in Baird Auditorium or online via Zoom, I'd like to welcome you to the 20th Smithsonian Botanical Symposium. Our focus this year is going to be on new horizons in the study of neotropical floras. The National Museum of Natural History, as part of the Smithsonian Institution, is an establishment for the increase and diffusion of knowledge. And our mission is to understand the natural world and its place in it, and we steward a collection of nearly 150 million specimens and artifacts to support this work. The United States National Herbarium is home to about 5 million of those specimens, which are foundational to our efforts in the Department of Botany. Each year, my department presents the Smithsonian Botanical Symposium in partnership with the United States Botanic Garden, and I'd like to invite Dr. Susan Pell, Executive Director of the USBG, to the podium to say a few words.
All right, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the U.S. Botanic Garden. We were established in 1820. We're the oldest continuously operating public garden in the United States, and we are in the legislative branch. We have living collections of around 45,000 species, and 45,000 plants rather, and we offer a great diversity of educational programming both online and in person. And we have lots of scientific collaborations. So one of them, of course, is with Smithsonian Botany Department here at Natural History, but also we partner with many other conservation organizations across the country and around the world to advance plant conservation, both in situ and ex situ. And I also want to just mention that the reception for this symposium is at U.S. Botanic Garden. It's at the conservatory tonight. And for all of you who are here in person, I welcome you to the garden and can't wait to see you there. Happy to give some tours of our collections while we're there tonight. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Susan. Next, I'd ask Dr. Laurence Dorr, Curator of Botany, to come forward for the presentation of this year's Cuatrecasas Medal for Excellence in Tropical Botany.
Great. Thank you, Eric. The Department of Botany presents the Cuatrecasas Medal to a botanist and scholar of international stature who has contributed significantly to advancing the field of tropical botany. First awarded in 2001, the medal also is meant to keep vibrant the accomplishments and memory of our late colleague, José Cuatrecasas. Many of our present staff members remember José, affectionately known as Don José or Pepe, and until recently, many of the medal recipients told us how they too had met or interacted with him. Unfortunately, almost 30 years after his death, the personal connection has faded. It therefore seems worthy to recount a few highlights of his long and productive career. He was born in Spain in 1903. He studied in Barcelona and Madrid and did graduate work in the 1930s in Berlin. Returning to Spain, he became a full professor at the University of Madrid and director of the Tropical Flora section of the Jardim Botânico in the same city. Both posts he held through the turbulent Spanish Civil War. The defeat of the Republicans and ascendancy of General Francisco Franco in 1939, however, forced José into exile in Colombia. He remained there for 8 years and began a series of explorations and publications that had a profound impact on our knowledge of the Andean flora of that biologically rich South American country. Subsequently, he moved to the Field Museum in Chicago, where he worked for another 8 years before coming to Washington in 1955, where he spent the remainder of his long career as a research associate at the U.S. National Herbarium. He published on many tropical plant families and was a founding member of the Organization for Tropical Flora, for Flora Neotropica. A notable monograph was that of cacao, or as most of you know, chocolate. He later became best known for his interest in compositing and especially the Andean Paramo genera that comprised the Espelitinae. He continued to visit Colombia and Venezuela for fieldwork until he was almost 80 years old. This year's recipient of the medal is Dr. Rafaela Forzza, who is accomplished as a scientist, science administrator, and educator. Her impact has been impressive on several different scales. She has contributed immeasurably to our knowledge of the Brazilian flora through the leadership role in Reflora, which has transformed floristic research in Brazil and spurred an amazing amount of research activity in plant systematics, taxonomy, and conservation in South America's largest country. In addition to managing this Herculean task, which involved sending students to image Brazilian specimens in foreign herbaria, including 4 students who spent a year here in the U.S. National Herbarium, creating nomenclatural and specimen databases for the Brazilian flora, and coordinating a checklist of the plants and fungi of Brazil, her personal research on Bromeliaceae and related families, often in conjunction with students, also has been rich and of the highest order. In addition to phylogenetic research, she has authored or co-authored almost 100 species of Bromeliaceae, including the one pictured here, which was described as Ancylurium agavoides, or now known as Dickia agavoides. Unfortunately, Rafaela could not attend in person, but she sent a video presentation accepting the medal, which we will show now.
Dear friends and colleagues, I am deeply honored and grateful to receive the Cuatrecasas Medal from the Smithsonian Institute, which recognizes the importance of my work in the conservation and the study of Brazilian plant species. My work has focused on collection and cataloging Brazilian plants. Through the fieldwork, experimentation, and collaboration with local communities and the policymakers, I have sought to bridge the gap between science and practice and empower others to take action in defense of our natural heritage. But I know this work would not be possible without the support of many others who share my passion and commitment. To my colleagues in Brazil and around the world who have inspired and supported me, to the communities who have welcomed me into their homes and landscape, and to the countless plants and animals that have inspired me with their beauty and resilience. I offer my thanks and gratitude. Let us continue work together to protect our planet. Thank you. Abraço para os meus amigos brasileiros e muito obrigada pelo reconhecimento.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Larry, and congratulations, Dr. Forzza. So we've got a fantastic lineup for you all today, whether you're here or online. I'll do my best to try and keep things on time, but please note that these times listed here are targets and not necessarily reality. For those of you online, I will emphasize that all of these times are Eastern Daylight Time, so you'll need to adjust accordingly wherever you might be. Speakers, I'm definitely going to need your help. Everyone's been allocated a 30-minute slot for their presentation. It'd be great if you could leave a couple of minutes for questions. I'll wave my hand frantically in the air, letting you know that you've got 5 minutes remaining when that time comes. A few logistics. For those of you who are joining us online, the webinar does feature live closed captioning. You can turn this function on or off by clicking on the CC button at the bottom of the Zoom interface. Likewise, if you have a question for a speaker, you can submit it using the Q&A box, again, at the bottom of the Zoom interface. Questions from the live audience, of course, can be asked directly, but it's important that you use a microphone. There's a microphone in either of the aisles. That's important so that the folks joining us online as well as in person can hear the question as well. For those of you here in the auditorium, public Wi-Fi, should you need it, should be available. Just look for the SI Visitor network. Bathrooms, if you haven't already discovered them, are in the Constitution Avenue lobby, directly sort of there, women's to this side, men's to that side, probably where you came into the museum. Also, again, for those of you who are attending the reception this evening, it's at the United States Botanic Garden. This is the National Mall that you're looking at. If you leave the museum on the mall side or otherwise get to the mall side of the museum, you're going to walk toward the Capitol, which is pretty obvious. And the USBG is sort of at the foot, just south of the Capitol. Again, that'll start at 6 o'clock this evening. The symposium, of course, does not happen by itself, and I need to acknowledge the United States Botanic Garden and the National Museum of Natural History Department of Botany for financial support, as well as the José Cuatrecasas Botanical Fund and the Mellon Foundation. I'd also like to thank the USBG and NMNH staff for their assistance, and especially Marianne Aposelli, David Jenkins, Tisha Lee, for help with speaker travel, funds management, and other logistical support. The organizing committee for this year's symposium consisted of Pedro Acevedo, Amy Bolton, Joy Columbus, Larry Dorr, Rose Gullidge, Gary Krupnick, Susan Pell, Paul Peterson, myself, Ken Werdek, and Elizabeth Zimmer. And a big thank you goes out to Gary Krupnick, who has taken the lead role in executing the plan developed by the committee. And so without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker today.